Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have swatches for you from the magical collection from the brand Zoya for holiday 2023. These are available right now, so in the description box I will link the Zoya site, I will link their Instagram page, and then I will link my Instagram page where you can see more swatches of everything from today's video. So we do have 6 polishes in this collection, and let's go ahead and get started. So first we have Adara, and this is described as a radiant lapis blue where flecks of rose gold dance alongside twinkling blue glitters, creating a symphony of sparkle on your fingertips. I loved that description, so I read the whole thing, but this is a very pretty blue polish. The formula is also incredible to work with. All of these polishes come with the Z-Wide brush already in them, so you don't have to worry about switching it out, which I am personally a big fan of. The formula in this is great, very smooth, even application, no running, pooling, staining, anything of that sort. However, I do recommend using a base coat for this one just to protect your natural nail and prevent any potential stains. So here's our second coat, and that does cover completely in 2 coats. You'll want some top coat. This doesn't dry to the glossiest of finishes. It doesn't dry overly textured. There's no glitter or anything like that in here, but it doesn't dry totally glossy, so I do recommend that top coat. And as far as removal goes, it is easy. There's nothing in here that's going to stick to your nails or give you any kind of trouble. So there are 2 coats of Adara. Up next we have Bisoux, and just a forewarning, there's a lot of names in this collection that I'm not 100% sure on, but I am going off of what Google's telling me, and they did say this one is pronounced Bisoux. This is described as a delicate opal pink kissed with rose gold micro flakes and a sprinkle of gold and holographic dazzle. This is very sheer here on this first coat, but it is very intentionally sheer. It is meant to be built up so you get all of these beautiful delicate elements on your nails without covering them up with a more intense base color. The formula itself is incredible again, not too thick or too thin. I had 0 application issues, and this does, even though it's sheer, apply nice and evenly, so you really don't have to worry about manipulating it around too much. So here is that third coat, and this does cover completely in 3 coats. You'll definitely want some top coat to smooth this one out. It is going to dry with a little bit of texture. These holographic glitters that are in here are kind of on the larger side compared to everything else, so they do stand out above the rest of this base, and removal does require some scrubbing. So there are 3 coats of Bisoux. Up next we have either Cherri or Cherri, and this is described as a rich blue-based red cream. This one is very opaque here on this first coat. This also dries to a matte finish. I wasn't sure if that was intentional or not, so I did take my swatch photos without top coat to show like the velvety effect this gives on the nails once it's fully dried, but it is very opaque on this first coat. I wouldn't necessarily call it a 1-coater unless you worked a little bit thicker than I am. You could probably get this in 1 coat, but 2 coats is optimal. And the velvety finish that this dries to is actually so incredibly beautiful. I'm a big fan of it. If you don't love that though, you can use top coat and it will just give the same effect as a nice glossy red cream. I didn't have any staining, but I do recommend a base coat because this is very opaque. So there are 2 coats of either Cherri or Cherri. Up next we have Farley, and if this looks identical to Bisoux, you and me were on the same page. I definitely thought I just got 2 of the same polish, but this is intentional. This is described as an oyster shell hue, but it does have the same holographic bits and the micro shimmer formula. I do think that this one has more holographic glitter in there than Bisoux had, but honestly, once it's built up in that 3rd coat, you can tell there's like a shades difference, but I don't necessarily think that you would need both in your collection unless you are just an avid Zoya collector. The formula is the exact same though. Very easy application. All of these glitters are kind of embedded in this base, so it does make it very easy to spread around without having to manipulate any of these glitter anywhere specific. Just like Bisoux though, this is going to dry pretty textured, so you'll definitely want some thicker top coat to smooth this out or a glitter smoother under your regular top coat, and removal will still require some scrubbing. But there are 3 coats of Farley. Up next we have Inez, which again, Google said is how you pronounce. And this is described as a lively amaranth magenta adorned with rose gold micro flakes. This is very opaque. This is also very pretty. This really screams summer to me, but I have seen a lot of pink for like Christmas, which I am absolutely a big advocate for, but not quite this kind of pink. This is a very, very bright base. So I personally would probably wear this more spring, summer, but it is a very gorgeous polish. The flakes that are in here are stunning. It does dry much the same as Adara did, where it's not totally glossy, so I do still recommend using a top coat, but nothing is going to dry overly textured and nothing will be difficult to remove. I also experienced no staining with this one. I do recommend using a base coat though, just to prevent any stains, because I only wore this for the swatch. So there are 2 coats of Inez. And lastly for today we have Vixen, and this is described as a seductive black cherry cream. It looked brown in the bottle, so I wasn't overly thrilled about it, but this is definitely the top pick of the collection for me. This is so stinking pretty. On the nails, you really get that like deep cherry color. It doesn't have the most even of applications on this first coat, but once that second coat's on, it comes alive and it is so freaking beautiful. I do recommend going in kind of on the thinner side. As you can see, it doesn't apply the most evenly, and even with my terrible first coat application, because I'm terrified to get reds in my cuticles, I still got full coverage in 2 coats. So I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, but if you work a little bit differently, just make sure that you work a little thinner so your coats aren't like super uneven. This is going to dry to a nice plump glossy finish all on its own. I do still recommend a top coat for longevity purposes. It'll help keep your manicure lasting as long as possible and prevent any kind of chips. I didn't have any staining, but I do recommend base coats. So there are 2 coats of Vixen. And here's a look at the full collection. I'm a big fan of Vixen. I also really liked the matte that Cherri or Sherry dried down to. I thought that was absolutely stunning. The neon I think is gorgeous, but I don't think it's seasonally appropriate for me. And then of course, I really liked these holographic glitter polishes, but I don't necessarily think I need both in my collection. If I were to pick one, I'd probably pick Bisoux just because it's a little bit lighter, a little bit more pink and a little less purple, but they're both pretty. I just don't necessarily think you need both. Overall, very good collection. No real complaints, just a couple nitpicky things. And guys, that is it. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these polishes. Let me know if you plan on picking any of them up, and let me know what your favorite was. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and I will talk to you again next time.